Just be respectful of your time. I'm not sure how many of you are back in school already, or have some back to school PD, or trying to get some meetings done before everyone comes back, maybe next week or the next few weeks. But excited to have you on. We are recording this webinar, and so we will be able to send a copy out to you in the next day or so. The chat is open, which you are using right now. We also have the Q&A open. Again, I put it in the chat, but my name is Ryan Casey. I'm the director of esports for the Michigan High School Esports League. Joining me and kind of working behind the scenes, you'll hear from her in a little bit, is Maggie Helmer, the assistant director. And then we also have Chris Black, who got up early all the way over in California to join us from Play Versus. We work with Chris, and we connect just about every week to work on how do we make this experience for kids the best possible for them and for coaches and for our schools. And so excited to have Maggie and Chris with me. You'll hear from all of us throughout this webinar. But again, if any comments you want to make or connect with others, feel free to throw that in the chat, ask questions in the Q&A, and we will get you a copy of this slide deck, which does have links and resources built in. So you can take this, review it, share it with a prospective coach or a parent or student athletes, and we'll get you up and running hopefully this fall, if not for the spring season as well. So you'll hear us refer to ourselves as MHSEL. That is the Michigan High School Esports League. We have kind of a couple of different organizations that all help make this happen. So the first, as I mentioned, we have Chris from Play Versus. They are the platform partner. So it is on their unique state-of-the-art platform, our website, if you will, that allows us to be able to operate with the scheduling out of matches, connecting with other schools, connecting and checking in with other coaches and students to record your matches. And so it's a really awesome platform. We'll have some screenshots of that for you later and some resources on how to get started. MHSEL is actually hosted by the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals, so MASSP. We also work with students already through our Michigan Student Leadership Group, which is the Association of Student Councils and Honor Societies. So principals and students working together to have a great school experience. And we decided to jump in with esports really back during the pandemic, during COVID, to offer another opportunity for students to have success. And so I'm a former high school principal and high school basketball coach. And so this is right up my alley. I love finding things that bring students to the table, to have them more engaged. And as you'll find out, a lot of kids who do esports, this is the first time that they have felt connected to their school. And so one of the many reasons we wanted to offer this. Here we have our mission and vision, and this was helped crafted by our advisory board. So we have a group of it's growing about 12 or 13 folks now from all across the state, representing all different regions and levels. We want to provide a safe, competitive, and curricular environment that allows our students the opportunity to build critical skill sets, explore different career paths, and really contribute to their school's culture within varsity esports. And our vision is to be Michigan's elite high school esports league. And I know the word high school is thrown in our title, similar to MHSAA, right? The Michigan High School Athletic Association. But we're excited now. You're going to hear us start expanding all of these items into middle school. I noticed some people introduce themselves saying they are from middle school. They're excited to know that this is an opportunity for their middle school students. So, of course, our mission and vision apply to our middle school friends as well. Specifically with high school, because that's the group we started with, we are getting ready to enter, believe it or not, our 5th year. We've had 8 different seasons. We do two season each year, a fall and a spring. And we started with, I want to say, maybe 6 or 7 game titles, and we are up to 12 now. And we will cover all those games. I guarantee you they're all the popular games your kids are playing right now. And we do consider ourselves for high school a varsity esports league. And we have many schools, and we encourage them to do so through aligning themselves under the athletic department to issue varsity letters for their high school teams and high school varsity team athletes. Last year for our high school league, we had 164 schools participating, 704 teams. That equates to over 3,000 students. We had 10 game titles last spring. So again, we already added 2 more for this upcoming fall season. And of those 10, 9 were state leagues, meaning that we kept all of those teams in-house within Michigan alone. So there was enough Michigan teams to create a healthy competitive league. You can see them listed there. So we do have some game titles that are more regionally based, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, meaning maybe we don't have it's not super popular. We don't have a ton of Michigan teams playing. So they would take on other schools that are on like the Eastern time zone. So Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, teams like that, or states like that. You can see our fun little heat map here from last season, which again was our largest to date. And this just kind of shows the growth that we've seen. Not only do we see incredible growth from the amount of schools participating, but each school program is growing as well. So we have a lot of schools that say, hey, is it okay if we start small with maybe just a couple teams? Maybe I only have 6, 8 kids. That is no problem. I totally understand, just want to kind of dip your toe in the water, make sure that you have capacity, make sure you have all the technology and equipment needs figured out. But just know that it will catch on like wildfire. It'll be a blast. Word will spread. So even though you might start with 6 kids this fall, probably by next spring, or if not a year out from now, we're almost seeing 100% increase in growth within the school. So starting small, totally fine, but just know it probably won't stay small for long, which is a good problem to have. And again, the heat map kind of shows we are spreading to northern Michigan. We have schools in the UP. Because esports, and I always tell this to our athletic director friends, because anytime we ask them to kind of get involved, I totally get it. I worked closely with my athletic director when I was a principal. They're like, man, it's hard for me to take on any more things with, refs and busing to athletic events, right, is always a concern. There's no busing. These are played virtually, right? So it's a really good opportunity, especially for our UP friends and those kind of scattered out in the rural parts of the state. It's fun to watch a matchup of a Marquette take on, a Detroit suburb school, or like a Novi or something like that, right? You don't see that matchup happen very often. And so one of the benefits. So for our middle school friends, we kind of piloted this a little bit last year. Started again, even for us starting small, kind of work out all the quirks, if you will, and we are ready to really unleash this statewide now. So we are entering our 2nd year. Our plan is to have, again, very similarly matched to the high school league. We're going to have a fall season and a spring season. The only catch is the fall season, because it's going to be pretty new for a lot of our middle schools, is going to really be a scholastic season. I mean, we're going to get you in a league. You're going to play other middle schools from all across the state. We're not going to worry about a playoff or a championship format yet. When we get to spring, we'll play our regular season, and then we'll jump into playoffs in a hopefully an in-person championship for kids to, be able to claim they are the middle school state champion for Rocket League or the different game titles. So as of right now, we have 3 games being offered. I think Chris did tell me before we started, we are going to be able to explain that's going to jump to 6 here this week. So we'll talk about, again, games in just a moment. So we're not going to play this whole video, but this is a video that shows our spring championships for the high school teams that was held at Oakland University. We typically hold our championships at different colleges. I think it's really important to get high school students and even middle school students on a college campus talking with college student athletes and college coaches and having parents there to ask questions. It's a fun environment. If you know nothing about esports, you just know that your kids play it a lot or whatever, if you have kids at home like me, I think this really provides a lot of insight in terms as to why this is so popular. Why, for me, my first time watching FIRST Robotics, I didn't get robotics, right? Kids were tinkering in their room. We had a FIRST Robotics team. Then I went to my first first robotics competition, I was like, oh, I totally get it. People are high-fiving, we're cheering, there's music playing. And I think you'll see a lot of similar characteristics in this video. I might talk a little bit while this is playing. There is some music. And then while this is playing, that's also a really great opportunity to drop some comments in the chat and or drop some questions in the Q&A. Go ahead, Maggie. So we had 4 different game titles being played in person. Every game title gets to play for a championship. So, you know, we had 9 state leagues, so we had 9 different state champions last spring. Obviously, just due to time constraints and what we can squeeze in person in a day, we typically pick our most popular game titles, meaning the game titles that have the most teams playing in that league. But we did quarterfinals on up. I'm sorry, semifinals on up. So we had the top 4 teams for those 4 different game titles. We had shoutcasters there broadcasting the matches so parents and friends and family could watch from home or online. We do walk-up music and call the kids out and read off their stats just like you would, you know, in a football or a basketball contest, right? And they all shake hands before they get started and shake hands and line up to say good game after a match is done. We've held quite a few of our championships at Oakland University. They are great partners for us. We've been at Eastern Michigan University, Western Michigan University. We've done things at Grand Valley State University. We're getting ready to host our fall championships at Michigan State University. We've been to Ferris for a different event. So we really kind of do things in all different pockets of the state just about. And Maggie can attest to this because she's usually the one that gets to pass out all the medals. Kids get emotional, and they will tell you this is the first medal or award that they have ever received in their entire life. Because again, there's a good amount of these kids who aren't in track, aren't in band, right? They've never been participated in a spelling bee or anything like that. So this is their first medal or trophy they've ever gotten, and it's really amazing. But we can go ahead and stop there, Maggie. So that's just a little insight into just kind of the overview of our league. We're going to jump into how it really specifically works on Play Versus and hopefully answer all your questions about what games, when are the games, how do you get signed up, how do you get started? And then Maggie will lead us through at the end kind of just some things that makes our league in the state of Michigan unique. And Chris might jump in and correct me on any things I screw up along the way. Just know I'll try not to make you do that much, Chris. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So again, just some topics that we're going to cover. So keep going. Yep. So Play Versus does a really good job of really making a safe space for high schools and now middle schools to compete in esports. I won't say they were late to the party with middle school. We've been begging them to do middle school stuff on Play Versus for a couple of years now because we've heard from our middle school colleagues, hey, when can you do this for middle schools? And it took a while just because, especially as middle school folks know, when students are under that 13-year age, we have to make sure that we're hitting the COPA compliant and all that stuff to make sure their data and privacy is secured. And so there are some extra steps for our middle school folks to getting started, which is going to require some parents to sign off on some items. Just want to making it safe. But Playversus is in, I want to say, around 30 different states. If that's close to that number, Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So we're one of the states. So they work with a lot of different state associations, tens of thousands of students, and thousands and thousands and thousands of matches being played every day and every week. So we really are happy to have them as our platform partner. As I mentioned, they do this all around the country. One of the, as I've kind of alluded to, one of the really cool things that they are able to help us do with some of the additional resources they provide is it helps develop skills related to teamwork, leadership, communication. Again, some kids have been playing pee-wee baseball for years or soccer or whatever it is, and they are familiar with what it takes to be on a team and communicate. For about 50% of our esports athletes, this is that first team-based sport they've ever been a part of. And so it really does help that with that. And as we'll talk about too, with some of the college connections we have, it really does expose them to potential scholarship opportunities and unique career paths. So fall and spring, and it'll look a little different for middle school in the fall, because we mentioned that's our Scholastic League. Really, it's almost semester based, if you will, right? So you can do one or the other. You do not have to do both. I think once you offer it in one season, you're going to hear from kids saying, hey, why don't you do this in the other season? But it is nice in case you do have, Susie can only do in the fall because she does soccer in the spring, if you do have those students or because of work. But you don't have to do both. We typically run a 2-week preseason. The preseason is really, really, really important. You don't have to do it. It is strongly, strongly recommended because it's a great way to work out any kinks or bugs you have with getting on the network, with getting devices through the filter. Just figure out what teams you're going to be able to field, what kids are going to hold themselves accountable to show up and be there on time. We run an 8-week regular season, which typically includes a bye week in there. So if you do have a midwinter break, or depending on when spring break falls for you, or other types of breaks, you can use that. And then we run up to about a 4-week postseason tournament or playoffs for the teams that qualify. Not every team qualifies for playoffs. And that's just roughly how that works. So September through December for fall, roughly February to like late April, early May for spring. So what games are we offering and when do they take place? So they take place on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, which means we usually leave Mondays open for scrimmaging or practice. And then all of these other games start at 4 o'clock. We generally do 4 o'clock. Just for some of our schools, they get out a little later, not closer to 3 or a little after. By the time a student makes their way to your room, they grab a snack, they get logged in, they start warming up, they start practicing, just like you would expect your football and basketball and volleyball teams to do, right? We get the matches started by 4 o'clock. I know some schools get done considerably early. So is it possible to get started before 4 o'clock? Sure. If you're able to connect with the other coach ahead of time, say, hey, we're a 2:30 dismissal or a 2:20 dismissal. Any chance we could get started before that? You can work it out with the coach that you're playing. And if you're able to get it in earlier, by all means, go ahead and do so. One point is that every single one of these games, again, which makes us unique here versus others, is Playversus does have officially licensed partnerships to work with all these publishers. It's not exactly the same as, let's say, copyright, but we do have a lot of leagues that operate that do not have permission from Nintendo or Epic or Riot to operate and actually run leagues and run championships. So in theory, they could, be shut down at any time. We don't have to worry about that in MHSEL. But Splatoon, Valorant, Chess, League of Legends, Street Fighter 6, Chess and Street Fighter 6 were the new additions, by the way, for this fall. They're on Tuesday. NBA 2K, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, Overwatch 2 are on Wednesdays. And Thursdays are Rocket League, Mario Kart, Madden, and Hearthstone. So one question we typically get is, can we only practice on Monday or can we practice on Fridays? Absolutely. If you only have, let's say, a Rocket League team and a Mario Kart team, for example, right? So you would play on Thursdays. Monday doesn't have to be your practice day. Wednesday could be your practice day if you want. So really any day for any team can be used as practice if it's not the game day, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm explaining that and that makes sense. So we just know that Monday's a nice day just to not have any matches scheduled. So if you are running a larger esports program, you have a ton of teams, it might make it easy to just say Monday is our practice day, or to get our scrimmages in, or to do, things like that, or do some teamwork building exercises.
And as when this slide deck does get shared out with you guys, this is one of the slides along with this one that these icons are all clickable. All right. So that they take you to the homepage with additional information on each game, as well as there's a couple slides later on.
So they'll have all the rules and requirements and that sort of thing. So just real quickly, fly through these. You can see here underneath each game, it tells you how many players are on a team, right? So chess is 3 players. It can be played on a PC, a Mac, a tablet, or even a mobile device, right? So a phone. Whereas I'll skip around, Madden NFL, that is a solo, meaning you have one kid, one player per team. And that one is played on a PS5. So some of these are considered, a few of them are considered cross-platform, meaning that they can be played on anything, or you might see that some are say console, meaning console would be a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox or a PlayStation, right? So Rocket League. Some are specific to Nintendo. So Nintendo games, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, and Splatoon can only be played on a Nintendo Switch. So all of these games are available for our high school. Middle school, right now we have Rocket League, chess, and NBA 2K, but I just got confirmation because we said more coming soon. I think we're going to be able to Play Versus is going to make an announcement that Nintendo titles are going to be added in too. So Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, and Splatoon. And those 3 are super popular. There's a low barrier of entry to get started. So hopefully that slide will help a little bit in terms of just explaining what games are available. Oh, you good, Maggie?
Yeah, I did something.
Okay. Oh, there it is. She labeled them. Perfect. Thank you. You see middle school and high school versus high school only. So just talking about the equipment needed a little bit here. So obviously, if you still have a computer lab or a media center that has some desktops or powerful laptops, maybe you have a design room or a CAD room, something like that. Obviously, those make great spaces. We do have a lot of schools that allow students to bring in their own device from home and they check it in with their coach, first hour, if they're going to bring in their PlayStation or their Nintendo Switch. We have schools that go out and will buy these devices. You can buy brand new stuff. You can go out and buy them used from GameStop or on Facebook Marketplace. So those are all opportunities to get some of that equipment. And then obviously you really do want to work hand in hand with your network or IT administrator to get those devices on the school network. You're going to we like to say, move their cheese a little bit here and kind of do a fundamental shift for some of these folks to say, hey, you know how we block kids from going on Steam to play Rocket League all day? Well, come 2:30, I'm going to need you to turn that back on. It can be done. We obviously have almost 200 schools that are doing it. For some of you who have to run all the filters through your local RESA or ISD, I know that can add in an extra channel or layer of admin kind of communications and requests. So you do want to kind of get started on this early, and we have resources that you can share it's over my head to understand, but you share it with the IT folks and they'll be able to read it and understand what ports have to open and filters have to be adjusted, that sort of thing. And one other thing I'll point out, and Chris, you might need to jump in here, is I mentioned PlayVersus has all of the official publisher rights to be able to offer all these games. And because of that, schools that participate with PlayVersus and MHSEL are able to also get some kind of extra bonuses unlocked, or some freebies, I guess you can say, that'll allow you to get game codes to either get the game for free, or to get all the characters unlocked for free, or to get extra bonuses. Do you want to expand on that a little bit, Chris?
For sure. So PlayVersus basically gets licenses to be able to put on these games directly from the publishers. So we have 3 people on our publishers team who essentially work with them directly. As Ryan had alluded, we do have the ability to give out certain perks that do come with that. So, the best example we have right now is our Nintendo partnership. Through Nintendo directly, we can essentially give out any software to schools for free, software being anything that you could get via a digital code. So think, Super Smash Brothers can retail for $40, plus they have several expansions that each might cost $10 to $15 each. By reaching out to PlayVersus and working directly with somebody here, we can get you those codes that you just enter in, almost like on a discount code when you're checking out. You enter in a code, you get it for free. So that is essentially unlimited. We've never come close to hitting the maximum amount of free codes we can give out. So if you have a Smash team and you want the entire game for free, you can get it through PlayVersus. The same with Mario Kart, the same with Splatoon. In addition to free game codes, PlayVersus also has a certain allotment of Nintendo Switches that we can send to schools for free. So if you're a new school or a middle school and you want to start a team, for, let's say, Super Smash Brothers, PlayVersus can give definitely for sure all the game codes, but in a lot of instances as well can also give out the the Nintendo Switch and controllers and online codes for all of it. So the starting cost in terms of equipment for your school could essentially be zero. All you would need is, the students and a teacher to act as a coach. So we're really trying to reduce the barriers there. Just to give everybody like a sneak peek in terms of the middle school, because I see a lot of people from middle schools as well. PlayVersus nationally has allotted 250 Nintendo Switches to go to middle schools. And so right now we've only given out 10. So there's quite a lot that if you're interested to be able to apply for that. There will be information at the very end and included in the email of who you would reach out to for that. But essentially somebody from PlayVersus would, you get in touch with them and work with them to be able to get that shipped to you. So super excited about all that Nintendo stuff there. There are other perks with some of these other publishers. For example, there are discount codes related to Madden and NBA 2K. There are other as well benefits that go along with those in terms of like NBA 2K. The championships can be broadcasted on the official NBA Twitch channel. So there's a lot of different things that can go along with this. Hearthstone as well can get free card packs. And so definitely inquire with PlayVersus in terms of what type of perks you might be able to get with some of these games. If Maggie, you could go back one slide. I just wanted to touch upon the schedule. So these are the high school titles and high school game days. Right now, we're planning on having a little bit of a switch when it comes to middle school. So let's say this is still being finalized and will be finalized by the end of the week. But on Tuesdays, you see there's, Splatoon. On Wednesdays, there's Smash. Those will likely be different days for the middle school. The reason being is that if your high school has all the equipments and you want to borrow it from them, and you both have Smash teams, the middle school would be on a different day. So you're not, there's not an equipment shortage if your middle school and high school do share the same equipment. So this information will be kind of shared more readily in the coming weeks in terms of which days it's going to be. But I just wanted to point upon that for middle school.
That's a good point, Chris. Thanks. Yeah, especially for some schools that are going to run this as one program, or maybe you're coaching both teams. that's something to really think about as you're expanding your teams. Are you expanding your capacity or not? So we can go ahead and keep moving on, Maggie. So I mentioned earlier Play Versus, why we appreciate them as a partner, because they really are experts in this field of being able to create schedules and help get matches set up and aligned and get matches completed. You can see 16,000 schools, over 117,000 matches. We have over 500,000 users on the platform. They have a very high customer satisfaction rating. And again, one of the other reasons that makes us unique, we have dedicated support on standby on match days, right? Through Play Versus. So if you're having an issue, there's a technical glitch, you're not sure why something isn't working, you can submit a ticket and be connected to a live person, not a bot, but an actual live person that usually is able to get the item resolved. I want to say it's usually in under 3 minutes or whatever is the typical rate or something like that. So that's another reason, again, that makes us different than maybe some other leagues or volunteer leagues that are all volunteer based, that I think is important. We won't play the video here, but what's really cool, we don't have a ton of schools participating yet in Michigan. We've had a few with some awesome stories to share, but there is a partnership between Play Versus and Special Olympics and unified sports. So if you are from maybe a larger school district that does participate in unified sports through Michigan Special Olympics, there are leagues with Mario Kart and Rocket League in which students that are unified athletes can participate in as well. We had a really cool program out of the northern part of the state, and Alcona and Tawas and kind of that area. Correct me if I'm wrong, Maggie, but one of our advisory board members, Ashley O'Connor, from up that way, and just the impact it not only had on the students with special needs, but the impact it had on the general population students that worked and played on a team with those students that had special needs was just awesome, and the excitement those kids shared. So that's really a cool thing. We talk about this being an inclusive after school activity. It really is, right? You don't have to be 6'1", 185 pounds and run a 4.8 40-yard dash to be successful in this. It really is expansive beyond just genders and all need levels of students. So the next couple of slides, and Chris can jump in at any time here. It really is pretty easy and intuitive to get started. We have an interest survey that we've been sending out on social media. There's also a link here that you can fill out and get contacted by a Play Versus a specialist to reach out. And really, you can just go to playversus.com and create an account. Again, this is all free now. So our entire league is free. You don't have to enter in your credit card information. You can have an account, get started, and then it'll walk you through the steps over the next couple slides. Go ahead. That'll explain how to get your school added to the list of schools kind of based on your zip code, how to create a team and sign up for a different game title, and then be able to start building out your team and sending links out for your kids to then set up their own accounts and be able to add themselves in. So you can either do that by entering in their email addresses. They can just get a link and get started themselves. I mean, very similar to how you start a Google Classroom or, other types of websites and applications and platforms that your students normally use. So you sign up for the season. One thing that's unique this year that you would see as part of this process at the high school level is we are setting up varsity leagues now. So for schools that have an established esports program, they know that their students are pretty good. They're very competitive. They'll be able to sign up for a varsity league as compared to, you'll see an option on there for a JV league. Maybe you're brand new to esports. You have younger students maybe that aren't quite at the, aren't your 4-year senior that's been playing Rocket League for 4 years. You can sign up for the JV league. Next slide.
We do have a question in the chat, right? About
should students use their school email or a personal email address? I believe either one is okay. It kind of depends on, I think, the filter of your student email address and whether or not you're going to be able to get emails from Play Versus if they use their school email. We have schools that do both. I think the important piece is that regardless if they use a school email or a personal email, they are going to eventually attach it to like their Steam account or their Riot account or their Epic account that they use to actually play the game, because they are going to want to use their current game account that has all their rankings already, because some of them are really, really good and they're a diamond rank, if you will, in a certain game. Chris, did I explain that correctly?
Correct. So there would be basically the registering for the Play Versus platform. And so that would be an email address. For middle school, essentially, anytime somebody enters in their age and it's under 13 on that day, that they go through a different flow that does go directly to the parental consent form that a parent then has to essentially register with them. And this is our way of being COPA compliant with everything, all the rules for under 13 online. And for the game accounts, as Ryan had mentioned, any sort of game where they would be connecting via the game itself. So think any sort of Valorant, Overwatch, anything that's basically on the PC, they would have to connect their official game account, and then that game account is essentially what they are participating with for the entire season. So this is our way to make sure that we know with some degree of certainty that the person who is playing is that specific player and not somebody else at the school, because it would be that person's specific account on that front.
Which means, and it doesn't happen often, but if a student does something while they're playing for fun in their free time inappropriately with that account, and the Nintendo or Epic or somebody says, hey, you're shut down, you violated our community standards, that could potentially impact their ability to play in the league, right? So it's a good reminder to just have kids always be considerate and behave, whether it's a school activity or not. Let's talk a little bit about coach expectations, because I just got an email yesterday. Ryan, I need a coach. Can you help me find a coach who is a good person to pick to coach our team? And sometimes it's the principal who coaches it for a while to get it off the ground, and then hopefully they can hand it off to somebody. But really, coaches can be anyone. If it's a staff person, a teacher, an aide, that's obviously great. They already have a relationship with those kids. They know the kids. They're a familiar face. Do you need to be a gamer to be a coach? No. There are a ton of resources, and there's links, again, in this slide deck and on the Play Versus platform to help explain the rules. There's videos to watch so they can become more familiar. But you do not have to be a gamer. We need you to offer a safe space, hold kids accountable, monitor their behavior, communicate league information and news and updates, check in with the other coach of the opposing team to make sure your match is still on, those types of things. The kids are going to be experts. They're going to be plugging stuff in and rewiring stuff, saying, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, we got this. And then you'll eventually learn from them. They'll teach you. So if we've had parents do it, again, assuming that they pass a background check, right, and can work with the students, older brothers and sisters who might be college bound or back home from college that are gamers. I think you're finding, especially as you hire newer teachers coming into the workforce and education, a lot of them probably are gamers, or at least are familiar with a lot of these games, which makes it a little easier. So there is some familiarity there, but really anybody can be a coach. And again, tons of articles and resources available through the platform to get them spec'd up so they can feel like they can be a service. We sometimes say that coaches are really almost like their own little they're more like a director. They're kind of managing all the different teams that are in the different leagues more than an active coach trying to give them strategy, but both are fine options. And then, really to be able to communicate some of those expectations and the season expectations, to be able to help set up scrimmages and manage your roster. You have a kid that is going to be gone for a dentist appointment on match day. You can move them from your starting lineup to the bench. Take a kid from the bench, move them up to the starting lineup, or if little Susie's sick. So just like you would on a basketball or a volleyball team, right? Or on a track team, shuffling your relays and moving people from bench to starting and working with subs. The same type of system applies, and it's super easy and intuitive to do on the platform. We do ask that you follow some sort of protocols on game days and follow certain match expectations. So we generally want everybody to check in at least at a minimum an hour prior to your match and check in with your team to make sure everybody's there. You can check in with your opponent to make sure everything is good to go. There is a lobby chat that you can use to communicate. So no longer do you have to look up the other coach's cell phone number or get a hold of them on Discord. Back in the early days, it's built in, baked right into this platform. So you can check in and say, hey, we're good, or care if we start 10 minutes late today. Hey, any chance we can start at 3:30 today? Those types of things.
Again,
Yep. Again, with that stuff, and you communicate match results and enter those in the system. So lots of videos built into this slide deck that you can watch that kind of walk you through this actual process of getting started. So we'll go to the next slide here. I'm gonna let Maggie, they've been listening to me talk forever. I'm gonna pause
oh,
to
I
check
get
the
to talk
chat
now.
in the Q&A. And we'll let Maggie talk for a little bit.
All right, so just touching base on some of the key fall dates. So right now registration is open for both middle school and high school, and it is free. It being free is a big deal for all of us. We were able to announce that this past spring season with our high school league, and are very excited to be able to offer that now also for our middle school league as well. So this is why you will see how the big free sign is. It's a big deal for all of us. We want to take down those barriers and help get these programs into schools to engage those students. So September 20th, registration closes, but preseason begins September 9th. And if you are a new school, we would highly, highly encourage you, if you can, at least partake in 1 week of preseason. It really helps you figure out all those kinks with technology, with getting your players all set up, and anything like figuring out the platform and connecting with people. Just a really great way to get some practice in before the matches really begin for the high school, where it really where it counts towards your season, and if you're going to be able to make playoffs. So then regular season, as you can see for high school, it goes through November 15th, and then middle school goes through December 13th. Following the regular season for high school will have playoffs in our state and regional leagues. I know Ryan talked a little bit about this earlier, but just to hit it home again, is we try the best that we can to have as many state leagues as possible, so that our Michigan schools are playing other Michigan schools. But if there isn't enough, we also have regional leagues where they play other schools throughout other states in the Eastern region in play versus. And so we also host an in-person state championships. Usually it's the top 3 to 4 games that are the most popular in the state leagues. This season, we will be hosting at Michigan State University. We are super excited to have it there and partner with them, and that'll be on December 7th. If you are a middle school, I would highly encourage you to mark that date. Even if you're not playing, you're not participating, it is an awesome event. It's a great experience, not just for admins, but also for students. If they've never seen esports live, it is great to come and experience. Ryan, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? All right. Awesome. So these are a couple of contacts. I think for most of everybody on here, you will want to make note of Eric's email here, and the support email. If you have questions in regards to getting signed up, getting a team into your system, any questions along those lines, Eric is specified for Michigan to work with our teams and help get you onboarded and get you up and running successfully. These are all links with resources. Again, we will make sure that you get this slide deck. It has a ton of links and resources for you that will be super helpful as you get your program set up. One that I would highly note is the one that is the first one is the hardware network specifications. As you can see, you can click it right there, and that is what you're going to want to see and get to your IT people, maybe take them a box of cookies as well.
Yes.
Again, a couple more resources. I know that we have a couple more people going through our Super Coaches program, but Sherry St. Clair, who is also on our MHSEL advisory board, is a Michigan Super Coach through Play Versus, and she is a great resource. If you have any questions or concerns, she would be happy to help you. Okay, these again are all just resources. So each icon, this is the rule books. Each icon has your links to the rule books. Same with game day protocol. And now we're going to get into some of the fun stuff about MHSEL and why, you know, our league is very unique and why we would consider us the premier league in Michigan. We'll hear from Chris real quick.
The Michigan High School Esports League has made an incredible difference to the students in Novi High School. Over the last 2 years of coaching esports at Novi, I have watched students grow and develop confidence, compassion, and leadership skills that they can use for the rest of their lives. I think I can safely speak for every esports coach in Michigan that competing in Michigan High School Esports League has been an extremely validating experience for so many of our students, allowing them to compete and represent their high schools in an environment where they were already deeply passionate and committed. I could not be more proud for what my students have accomplished, which this year was a state championship. Go Michigan High School Esports League. Keep doing what you're doing. We love it.
We like to hear from coaches and players just because
The Michigan
it's a little bit easier than for us tooting our own horn. And something that went viral last year that some of you may have seen on YouTube was the Detroit Catholic Central PEP assembly that was held for an esports match. Ryan actually attended this and he could speak a little bit more to that.
So I know we've all been part of assemblies, right? PEP assemblies, whether it's during homecoming or whatever. And they set one up at Detroit Catholic Central to have another really good esports team from Dakota High School come in and play in front of their student body. So about 1,000 kids packed into the gym with faculty and staff. And again, I was a high school and middle school principal. I've done my fair share of PEP assemblies and different activities. This was the loudest gym I've ever been in my entire life. When they scored the first goal in Rocket League, it was the pep band was in there playing. People were going nuts. So this guy has like 1 million views on TikTok. Sports Center retweeted, not tweeted, but reposted on TikTok. Rocket League, the actual publishing game company, the game reposted it. So it was really cool. We'll play just like 30 seconds of it, Maggie. Catholic Central did their own video here too. Doing the fight song, getting ready for the match. They did the school song, the national anthem, played first. Should have the first goal being scored here any second now. They had this live shoutcasting. That was it. That was the loud point. The decibels just skyrocketed there. So, all right, you can skip.
Yep. All right. And I do see that we have about 10 minutes, and I will be quick on a lot of these, but I do want to highlight some of our programs that are unique for your students to partake in. The past 2 years, we've held Explore Esports Conference, where we have breakout sessions and keynotes, and where you can learn more about esports, whether you're a new program or you're an existing program. I know this year that we are planning on doing a little bit more of a scaled down version of it, but we're still doing a version of it, and focusing more on strategy sessions for students, as well as coaches roundtables, as those were some of the big takeaways that we found that were the most valuable to our attendees. As you can see, just a couple photos. You already saw some of the videos from our semis and championships. Our season concluding event has now expanded into what Ryan has already alluded as quarterfinals. And we're doing our best to expand as much as we can, because the more in-person matches that we can provide for students, the more experience they get in person is better, and they enjoy that more, and the more opportunities that we can give them is our goal here.
Can I jump in, Maggie?
Yep.
If you want to go back to that slide, I just want to point out one thing. This is my favorite picture on this slide. Is, do you guys see the images of the cars with they wrote on the windows of the cars there, right? So for a lot of kids, playing live in front of people, again, going back to like that 46% stat of kids have never been involved in after school activities. This is the first time they are playing in front of an actual audience. And so they get nervous, they are sweating, they are anxious, they're having a great time. And for a lot of these kids, we actually had some students from Marquette, from the UP, drive, 9 hours, 10 hours to come down to Oakland to participate. And for a lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot. I know for a couple of kids, in fact, it was the first time they'd been that far downstate before, but they fundraised. Their community came together and did a fundraiser to give them money so they could stay in hotels and come down. And they were so excited to load up in the school minivan or bus or whatever it was that took them down, because again, we see that all the time for our football players and our track stars and whatever. And to be able to let these kids have that same excitement and that same opportunity and be treated like an equal, like, hey, this team is representing our school to go play in a state championship, is just really cool. Sorry.
No, love it. Our awards program is something that we launched last spring. Actually, we have 4 different categories: all league, all state, player of the year, and coach of the year, 2 of which are provided each season, and then 2 of which are only provided once a year. All league is provided by the coach in school. We provide a template for them to be able to hand out that award. And then all state is provided by us at the in-person state championship, as well as player of the year and coach of the year, which is provided at the spring in-person state championship. More information will be provided in regards to the awards program for fall and spring at a later date, and there is additional information on our website as well. Special events that we host, we do both in-person and virtual tournaments. As you can see, we have a variety of different partners that we work with to be able to host and provide those at a either very discounted or at no cost for our teams. As well as our in-person state championship, we'll have at least the top 3 most popular game titles in the league on December 7th. Additional special event that we'll be hosting again this year is the Shoutcaster Showdown, where our students actually get to be shoutcasters themselves. It was an awesome experience last year to be able to have our 4 finalists up at Ferris State, along with our Turkey Time tournament happening with Super Smash Brothers going on at FSU, but we were able to provide a scholarship to the winner, and also ask the winner to come and help shoutcast our state finals match in December. And then these are some important dates that we would like you to mark down if you are able to join us this year, especially if you are going to be a new coach. We have scheduled our new coaches webinar, which is for September 9th at 3 p.m. I wanted to make that known because we have one of our coaches from our advisory board that joins Ryan and I, and we host a 1-hour session going through more detailed information in regards to being a coach. And Eric Hines is absolutely amazing. I know that Ryan could speak more to that as well, but just keeping an eye on the time. These are the big dates, as well as the fall coaches meeting is the next big date that we would like you to mark down. We are also trying to make sure that we are all being held accountable, and Ryan can speak to this one. Are you muted?
Yeah, just for time's sakes, I mean, basically, we're trying to make different opportunities to help coaches grow, just to make sure everyone is on the same page when it comes to knowing all the expectations and all the rules and just best practices to making sure you get your games in and stuff like that. And so, things happen. There are things we can't help with snow days and schools losing power, but especially when it comes to like coaches being able to connect with one another and look ahead to, we have a half day coming up. Do I need to reschedule my match? Trying to be proactive about those types of things, because nothing's worse than having a group of kids show up ready to compete and then find out last minute, a minute before the match starts, like, oh, the other team can't play. Right. And a forfeit. Everybody wants to get a win, but they want to get a hard-earned win because they beat somebody 5-4, right? Not because they got a forfeit. So that meeting specifically will help with hopefully clear up some of those things, just to make sure that, again, everybody has a great experience. And as Maggie mentioned, just the rest of the dates are on there. Some of that only applies to high school, but just things to mark down in your calendar.
All right. And then just for anybody that is interested to learn a little bit more about esports, there is a free intro to esports online course through our partner, Michigan Virtual Professional Learning Portal. The bit.ly is there. We will also send this out so you have it. This is a quote that we love, is that esports, no matter the results, when students compete, school culture wins. It's one of our taglines that we use quite frequently. So that's all we have for you folks, at least for today. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to just put Ryan and I's contact information up on the screen, as well as we are resources for you.
Yeah, we landed on 60 minutes exactly. So yeah, I'm happy to hang out for a little while longer. Again, we'll send the slide deck out, which has all the links built in and YouTube video clips built in. We will send a recording of this webinar. So again, if you want to pass this along to a teacher, a prospective coach, or a parent advisor, your athletic director, you're welcome to do so. But we'll hang out and answer any more questions. You can even unmute yourself to talk. I think I turned that on. I hope I did. Otherwise, the chat and Q&A is open. So thank you, guys. I know it's kind of a busy couple weeks, but I definitely feel like your kids would love this, and this would be a great addition to your school buildings.